Heidi ho, there you are. Welcome back to my discussion on corporations for Counting 1120. I have some goals today. Like, you're really surprised about that, huh? In my goal today, I want to learn how to do the accounting for issuing stock. Stock that's par value, no par value, and stated value. Those examples will be common stock. And then I also want to look at that other creature, preferred stock. Let's get some facts going. Let's assume in our discussion that our corporate charter authorizes us to issue 1 million shares of common stock with a $10 par value. And in our first example, let's assume we issue 100 shares of this $100 par value stock, and the market value when we issue this is also $100 a fluke. Just happens to be that way. What would the journal entry look like? Well, let's look at that. We'll get some cash, and the cash will be, we'll issue 100 shares, and we'll get the market value per share. So we'll get $10,000 cash. And we're issuing common stock. Right now I'll write it out. Pretty soon I'm going to abbreviate. We're issuing common stock. And into common stock always goes the par value. And in this case, the whole thing was par value. Now, let's assume further. We go down the road a bit, and we issue another 100 shares of this $100 par stock. But now, the market value of this, the amount the market's willing to pay, is for $110 a share. Wahoo! We're going to get more money. Yes. So, let's come up with this entry. How much cash will we get? Well, the cash is going to be 100 shares times $112 per share. $11,200. Into common stock goes the par value. And remember, par value was 100 shares at $100 par value, so it will get $10,000. And enter a new account, paid in capital in excess of par. I'm going to abbreviate, that's too much to write. For common stock. And in it goes the $1,200 we sold it for over par value. All states have laws that deal with how things get paid out in the order of liquidation. And we have to be very careful to keep track of where our paid in capital came in. So in common stock, we put only par value in, and the difference goes in paid in capital, and it's identified as from excessive par, and it's identified that it came from common stock. Now, let's do a third entry, but let's have you do this one and see if you get how to do it. We're still going to issue 100 shares, because that's nice and easy to do. And it's our $100 par value stock. But now we're going to have a market value associated with these that we're able to sell it at. That is $125 a share. Put this on pause, and you make the entry and come back and see how you do. Welcome back. How did you do? Cash, 100 times $125, 100 shares, $125 a share. Common stock picking up the par, 100 shares times 100, and paid in capital in excess of par from common stock, picking up the difference. Not so bad, huh? So, How would this look then on a balance sheet? We'd have our assets equal liabilities plus stockholders' equity. We would have our paid-in capital section. We would have common stock, where it would say on the face of the balance sheet, 1 million shares are authorized. It would also say 300 shares are issued. And outstanding, meaning they're still out there trading. And the dollar amount for this common stock, and then a little bit out of room, would be 10,000 from our first transaction, 10,000 from our second, 10,000 from our third, so we would have $30,000 in common stock. Then it would also say paid in capital in excess of par value for common stock, and in it would have 1,200 plus 2,500 or 3,700. So our total paid in capital on this balance sheet would be the sum of the two, which would be 33,700. Then you would still have the retained earnings section, but if you're a new corporation, you wouldn't have any there. And I just wanted to focus on what the paid in capital section would look like. So that is how it would look if we issued common stock. With a par value. Go back and label it common stock with par value. Let's keep going. Next, I believe we wanted to look at issuing no par common stock. Let's see how that would shake out. Let me get some facts. Let's assume our corporate charter authorizes us to issue up to 1 million shares of no par stock, and it's common stock. And let's assume further that we issue $100 par value shares for $100 each. So our par value is 100 and we sell it for 100 each. That's what the market will bear. So our entry will be cash, 10,000, and common stock, 10,000. No change. Now let's assume that we issue 100 shares of our $100. We don't have par value. That needs to go away. It's no par. Of our no par stock. Can you believe I said that? No par. Did you catch it? We issued 100 shares of our no par stock for $112 each. How would that entry look? It's going to change from our last one. Our cash be 11,200, and our common stock will also be 11,200. And notice there is no contributed capital in excess of par because there is no par. It's not very common. That's why I torqued it. Our third example, I think we issued 100 shares of stock of our no par variety for $125 a share. How about you put me on pause and make that entry? Did you get it? Cash 12,500 and common stock 12,500. And there will be no paid in capital in excess of par because there is no par. Like we mentioned before, some states allow, or some corporations issue no par stock, and then the state comes in and attaches what we call a stated value to it because they don't allow for no par stock. So the state comes in, and although we have no par stock, they attach a stated value to it. Let's get some facts going. In our current facts, our corporate charter is going to authorize 1 million shares of no par stock, which have a stated value attached to them of $100. I'm going to skip the first entry where we issue it at book value, where par, stated value and market value are the same, and go right to our second example in this case, because the first entry just doesn't change and it's got it boring. So let's say we issue 100 shares of stated value stock where the stated value is 100 also, for $125. We'll just jump to the big one, shall we? And we'll get the feel for it. What would the entry be? Well, cash is the easy part. 100 shares times $125, $12,500. Now you're going to have common stock where you put the stated value, I abbreviated in there for you, of $10,000 in an account called paid in capital in excess of stated value. Can't be in excess of par because we don't have a par. So it's now in excess of stated value in the amount of $2,500. And you'll notice that stated value starts acting for all the world just like par value. Once you've learned to issue common stock at par value and no par value and stated value, it's really pretty easy to see how it works. We had one more thing we wanted to do. We want to learn how to issue preferred stock. But just notice I've been spelling authorized here and there. If you see any S's, turn them to a Z in your mind, okay? So, let's get our facts going for preferred stock. Let's say our corporate charter authorizes us to issue 500,000 shares of preferred stock with a par value of $300. And that we do issue some. Let's see if we can get it all on page. Let's say we issue 200 shares of our par value stock, which has a par value of 300, and that we issue this for a total of $70,000. Wow, I didn't give you the price per share now. I just gave you the cash. What can you do with that? Well, we need to make our entry, and we need to make it fit on this page. Our cash is going to be $70,000. That's easy. And into preferred stock, we can only put the par value. 200 times 3, 200 shares times $300 per par value per share means we're going to put $60,000 in preferred stock. Bet you can guess the name of our second account. Paid in capital in excess of par from preferred stock. Is this getting obnoxious or what? And we're going to put $10,000 in it. And again, all states have different laws, so we have to maintain those separate layers of paid in capital by type of stock and by type of transaction. So one more quick thing I want to do with you. Hold on. I want to learn to issue stock. Let's go back to common stock, but it wouldn't matter what kind I was looking at. where we don't issue it for stock, but we kind of trade it for something else. Let's get some facts going. Here's our facts. You issue 10,000 shares of your par value, $100 par value, and it's common stock, in exchange for a lovely new building that was just appraised at a price of $1,200,000. Given everything that we've learned in the last couple chapters, put me on pause and make an entry that makes sense to you. I'll hold. How'd you do? You recorded the building at fair market value. I know you did. And then you picked up the common stock and put in par value, 10,000 shares at $100 a share, and picked up the difference and put it in paid-in capital in excess of par from common stock. Because we did that when we did sole proprietors, and we did that when we did partnerships, and we'll be consistent in that as we move to corporations. You want to know what one of the fun things about learning accounting is that we're pretty consistent. Once you learn to start to think like an accountant, studying accounting gets easier. You develop a tick and you start dragging your right leg, but really, the accounting and the learning of it gets much easier. This concludes my pencast on issuing stock. Hopefully you found it helpful. We learned how to issue common stock, and the common stock had a par value, and then we did no par, and then we came in with that crazy stated value, which for the entire world starts looking like par value. And then we looked at preferred stock and found it was just the same thing, only the initials changed. And then we also worked in a non-cash transaction, so you could see the consistency between different methods of recording between sole proprietors, partners, and corporations. When you acquire an asset, you acquire it at the fair market value of what you gave up. All right then. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you later. Bye now.